Okay, we're ready to move on to explain. So you can tell that we're here. That's filled in blue. And you can see just by the drop-down menu that there are a lot of different things here in the explain. So this is really something that you might want to pick and choose what might fit best for your particular needs. It's not expected that you would use all of this. And I will tell you that I think that there are some pieces that are more essential than others in here, and I'm going to go ahead and point those out to you right now. So for this, I'm actually going to go ahead and refer to our static menu instead of the drop down, because I think that'll give us a chance to see all of this at once. The first thing I want to point out are the question prompts. These are highly recommended, and you'll see it's really for the teacher. There's not a student version of this. Let me open this up and take a look and tell you why I like it so much. Once the students have done the explore activity back here, they're going to want to need to have opportunities to either discuss or write or make some connections to the big ideas or the guiding questions for this particular standard. And that's what these questions can do. One of the reasons why I like them is because they're leveled by blooms, so you can differentiate for your students, and you can see there's lots of different questions with a suggested answer in red. So because there's only a teacher page, I believe when they designed this, it was probably more for oral class discussion, but I think you could easily just copy and paste these into a Word document and then either print them out or project them up on the computer and have students do partner talk, or you could use them as an exit ticket or doing a quick write or something like that. But these really do lead the students to start to be able to connect their experience with the big concepts for the particular standard that we're looking at. So highly recommend the question prompts. The other pieces in here that I kind of want to talk about are picture vocabulary, and you'll get a chance to explore those in a moment. Picture vocabulary is really nice. However, just need to be very careful to note that the list that they have in here is not the complete list for the standard. So you'll always want to go back to the standard clarifier to get that list. So there's a visual that goes with those, and those are nice to use or print out maybe as a supplement to your word wall. You can get those in English and in Spanish. So remember, you've got that there. The STEMscopedia, that is going to be the article, so kind of like your virtual science book that is pre-printed in your student book that you have. But here is an option for you to assign this online if you wanted to have your students read this online, and it's got some of the interactive parts here. So just kind of scroll down and have you take a look. There are some great little formative assessments in here. So if you're not using the STEMscopedia, I highly recommend this as well. Remember, there's also this connecting with your child, so you could send this home and have assign this for homework, which would be a chance for parents to interact with their children, which would be really great. So just give you an idea of what that looks like. So again, you have this printed in your STEMscopedia student book, and this is what it would look like as a print view. So again, if you have a student come in and you don't have a book or they've lost their book, you can still print that out. So that's about 5 pages long there. So since we're talking about the STEMscopedia, and this would be something that your students would be reading either online, or you could be modeling this on the whiteboard, or they could be reading it individually. I wanted to just point out a couple of different tools that are really great. One of them is this tool right here. So if you click this, it's going to actually make the font bigger, but you'll notice as it's making the font larger, it's keeping everything else still in the right ratio. So it doesn't make the whole screen big, it just makes the font larger. So might be nice to know if you have students that are visually impaired or need just a little bit larger font. Another thing that I wanted to point out is the text-to-speech feature. And so if you turn this on, it will show up with a little play button, and it will start to read the text to students, which is also an amazing feature. So you can turn this on, and if you assign it to students online, which will be a little later in the training, that could be something to be helpful as well. So I'll give you a chance to take a look at that in just a little bit. That's in the STEMscopedia. So let's come back to see if let's go back to our static menu. It's not cooperating, so I'll just use the pull down. The next things I want to show you are the content connection videos. So STEMscopes adds these little videos, and sometimes there's one, sometimes there's several of them. Just want to show you what these are about. These are videos that help students understand real-world applications for some of the standards. Some of these videos are from a company called TIGTAG, and you'll want to preview those and just look for alignment. I found they vary quite a bit. They're engaging and they're appropriate, but they're not always appropriate for that particular grade level. Sometimes it'll be a little bit too sophisticated or won't be quite aligned with the standard. So you'll want to be careful about using those because it could confuse students if it introduces material that they've not heard about yet. These also have questions at the bottom, so the students can answer questions after they've watched, and then there's a print version of that as well. So the first one is a content connection, so that's a TIG tag. I can see that. We're going to take a look at the second one. And I don't see the video showing up on this one, so, oh, there it is down there. There's another TIG tag video. I kind of giggled there because STEMscopes is kind of a live organism, and every time I come in here there's something a little bit different. They've added some things, which is really great. So sometimes there's some things that you might discover that I haven't mentioned, so it's always good to kind of check. And then that was another TIG tag video, so let's take a look at this one. And this one looks like a little bit different. This one has some animation here, and typically if it's not a TIG tag and it's a different style, and you'll see them once you start to explore those are going to be the really good ones to look at, and they're going to be really tightly aligned for that grade level. And you can see they all have some interactive things here. So again, just to take home with the content videos, watch those and make sure they're tightly aligned. Be aware of the ones that say TIG tag on them, just because they're not always necessarily appropriately aligned for the grade level. Okay, let's round this out with Science Rock. This is a favorite of your students, and it's a really underutilized resource in my opinion. Again, in a moment, I'll give you some time to go ahead and explore this, but this is a song with a video that has animation or sometimes just images. The lyrics scroll along the bottom, and the different styles of music vary. So sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's country, sometimes it's reggae or jazz or something like that. So highly engaging, and they're really neat, and the kids really like them. What I really love is that you can click on the PDF and get the lyrics. So now, in addition to being able to sing along and maybe do some hand motions and get some kinesthetic meaning for some of our vocabulary, we also have the lyrics now that are printed. So this is informational text. This is a poem. We could use it in that way as well. So maybe once the students have been exposed to the song several times, they're starting to know the lyrics. Now you can use this as a vocabulary resource. So maybe go through and highlight the key vocabulary that's on your word wall, or that's on the clarifier that you want the students to really take note of. So for instance, on this particular one, it says, the first line says, you can feel the heat. Well, is heat energy? How do we know it's energy? Oh, because anytime we feel heat, we know that's a form of energy. So we might highlight that. It says on a sunny day, you can see the light. Wow, there's another form of energy that we've been talking about, and so forth. So you can use this in a couple of different ways. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Science Rock, and your kids will really like it as well. So there's one more resource I want to show you on the Explain, and that is called eScopedia. And so this is going to be a version of what is in STEMscopesExplain, but your students can scroll through, and it's in a little bit different format, so it's a little bit friendlier to read online. You'll also see that it has the option to read, and there's also some little formative assessment pieces in there as well. So I've seen a lot of teachers, they will use the STEMscopesExplain as a traditional text, maybe, since it's in our book, and then they might follow up with assigning the eScopedia And again, it's assignable. Anything that has this S by it in the blue is assignable to students. They might assign that to students for some workstation time or for homework or just some extra practice. So that kind of rounds out Explain. The one thing I do want to just mention about STEM scopes that I feel like is a little bit lacking, and I'm a huge fan of STEM scopes, is this is really the area in the 5E. This is the stage where your formal instruction should be coming for your vocabulary. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot of resources in here other than some of the words are represented in the picture vocabulary. And you might have some of your vocabulary here in Science Rock. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot of vocabulary instruction. So be sure to be checking the unit overviews. I'm really trying to make sure that we infuse more vocabulary instruction in there, since it is such a hard, it is a hard concept for all of our kids. To get all of those different academic vocabulary terms. So be looking for interactive word wall information and examples that would go here and explain. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop here and let you have some time to explore.